O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together in a way the hen gathers her chicks, but you're unwilling. Behold, your house, which is another word for the temple, is being left to you desolate. For I say to you, from now on, you shall not see me until you say, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. And Jesus comes from the temple, and he's going away, and his disciples come and point out the temple buildings to him. So they've just stood next to him through this whole conversation of him being challenged, and who do you think you are, and show us who your authority is, and Jesus speaking the parables against the Pharisees, and their rabbi has never said these things. He's standing there pronouncing woes, hypocrites, and everything, and they're like, ah. And who is this guy? But he's their teacher, and they've stood beside him, and they've declared their allegiance. So they leave, and they get privately, and it's like, hey, check out the temple. Like, they're kind of freaked out. They're a little bit in shock, and so maybe trying to like chill the situation a little bit. So they're like, look at the temple. And then he ramps it up once again. And his answer is, do you see these things? Not one stone is going to be left on another. Every single one will be torn down. So then the question come to them. So he says, not one's going to be left on another. Then they come to him and says, when will this be? When was the sign of your coming? What's the end of the age? That's the questions that they ask him right there. He said, all the blood guilt is coming upon this generation. You're all going to die. You're going to be punished for it. And all of these stones are going to be torn down. So when does that happen? And then he goes on to the whole Matthew thing that a lot of teachers have projected into the future. But we know that happened. Not one stone was left on another, and it was the entire, it says that the Roman army took every stone down to the dirt. So like the foundation, they removed every single stone. At this point, there were 2 temples built. There was actually 3 temples built. There was the first temple that Solomon built, and then they built another one right after the captivity from Babylon. And then Herod came to power, and he kind of like rebuilt the second temple. So it was never like torn down and restarted. He just kind of like made it better, like a big temple. And so it was Herod's temple, but Herod was only half Jew, and they didn't really like him, and he worked for the Roman government. And so, but Herod was allowing the Jews to worship in their temple and to sacrifice in their temple. So the relationship between the Romans and Israel was pretty good at this point. So then Jesus goes into, they're like, when is this going to happen? So you guys have probably all read this chapter, right? It's pretty familiar with everyone. He says, many will come in my name saying, I'm the Christ. Wars and rumors of wars. Nation rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. Famines, earthquakes. And these are birth pains. So, but then he says, many, they will deliver you. They will kill you, and you'll be hated. And they'll deliver you, and they'll think that they're offering God an offering. So Jesus said that there'll be wars and rumors of wars, but this was right in the middle of the Pax Romana. It was like the only time in history that we can look at the earth when Rome had conquered everybody, and it was pretty much at peace. There wasn't armies or enemies coming into Rome and attacking. Rome had conquered the world, and there was an established peace in the world. So for him to say there's going to be wars and rumors of wars, that was an unusual thing within his time frame in his specific generation, because that would be weird. Like, it's the Roman peace right now. The world's not at war. And then there'll be famines in various places. The book of Acts talks about Agabus, one of the prophets. I think it's Agabus who says that Paul will be bound, but there was a famine in Jerusalem that Paul took an offering for from one of the churches because there was a famine in Israel. And then many will come in my name, declaring themselves to be the Christ. Once the Roman army surrounded the temple, people inside the temple and inside the city of Jerusalem started saying, "I'm God. I'm Jesus. I am the Christ. I'm the Messiah. I'm the Anointed One." And I mentioned one of them long ago in my other Bible study that we were having. But this guy came in and said, "I am God." He put this is once the Roman army was around. He went into the temple, sat in the temple, said, "I am Christ. I'm the Anointed One." And you're going to see signs and wonders. So he had his followers burn up all the food that was in the temple treasury, because that would force God's hand that he would have to rescue them now that they had no recourse left. So the Roman army waited like 4 months before they entered the gates of Jerusalem. And once they entered the gates of Jerusalem, Josephus says that Titus wept and started crying because they couldn't put their foot on the ground. There was just bodies piled up everywhere because there was so much famine inside the city that the people were like pretty much ghostly shadows of themselves. There was like nothing left that they were starving to death. And the only ones that really fought were the followers of this guy, who still people believed that he was the God and that he would save them. And he had about 20,000 followers. Inside the city, Josephus said the army estimated that 1.1 million died inside the city of Jerusalem. Josephus counted the number of sacrifices or something like that, and based up because it was around Passover, and people had come in from the countryside. Like the whole nation is supposed to go up to Jerusalem and on the Passover. So the whole nation had kind of clustered into Jerusalem around the time that the Roman armies came, and they were offering sacrifices. And based on a lamb feeding 10 people, which you're supposed to, like, the whole lamb is supposed to be